Good morning. As you guys are jumping on, please enter your name and organization into the chat box. We're going to get going in just a couple minutes.
Any of you ever spilled a beer on a jug?
I don't know if that was meant for us. We're just going to give it one more minute. If you're just joining, please enter your name and organization into the chat box. Alrighty. So if you've just joined, please make sure you enter your name and organization into the chat box. So we're going to get started right away this morning. We're happy to have Jamie Clark. She's going to present. She is the Director of Student Health Services at SIU, and she's going to talk a little bit about the HEROES program. So I'm going to hand it off to Jamie. Are you able to see our slides?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me today, and I'm really excited to share our new HEROES program with all of you. But I thought it might really help to start with kind of the background of the why we created it. As was mentioned, I'm the Director of Student Health Services, but prior to that, I was the Director of Counseling and Psychological Services. So one thing that we really noticed at SIU, just like across the country, was kind of the mental health crisis that we were seeing. So we saw a real uptick in terms of the mental health crises that we were seeing, the number of students presenting to counseling and psychological services. And just to give you a little background on that, most universities our size will see approximately 4,500 visits in a year for mental health, and we were seeing and trending at about 10,000. So we were seeing more than double the average of universities our size in terms of mental health. As many of you can imagine, being involved in healthcare, the pandemic didn't really help. The adult population went from about 11% meeting criteria for anxiety or depression to over 40%. And that didn't stop with our students. So we saw, again, another increase in some of the things that people were presenting with. But one thing that we really noticed in talking with students was that sometimes it was kind of mental health or psychopathology, but sometimes it was the stressors that they were facing being on a college campus, whether that be, not having the interpersonal relationships, but also the hardships that they were facing. At SIU, we realized that kind of in terms of financial and basic needs and security, our students were also trending higher than the national average. So we had a lot of students that didn't know where their next meal was coming from or where they were going to stay that night. They were couch surfing, or they couldn't afford the books or the webcams for their courses. And so really they were presenting to us at Counseling and Psychological Services with anxiety or depression or those stressors, but the real root of it was really in terms of basic needs and securities. And so that is really part of why we started to look at, okay, we need the mental health services, but how do we look at this more kind of comprehensive look at healthcare and look at kind of those basic needs and securities? And so that's kind of the basis of where we started. So if you could, we could move to that next slide. So we wanted to really take an integrated approach to health and wellness, really looking at the 8 dimensions of wellness. So not just looking at physical health, mental health, but really looking at all 8 dimensions, which I'll show you here on the next slide, and looking at a holistic view of health for our students. I was afforded the opportunity to go to Boston about 4 times for this Leadership Institute, where there was a major project that we put into place. That was kind of the requirements of this institute that I went to. And so Heroes was really the project that I created through that Leadership Institute. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that, but it really is rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness. Looking at how do we integrate our services for that. We can switch to the next one. As you see here, you're going to see some of the aspects, and so many people went into making this possible. So in this project, as I start to tell you about Heroes, people volunteered their time. Lots of people even on this meeting, have been involved in terms of community partnerships. A lot of work went into this. You can see local law enforcement here, a lot of volunteers. So as I talk about this program, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that lots of you have helped with this. But we had a lot of different volunteers. So this really has become kind of what was my dream or my vision, really has branched out. So it was pretty exciting to see that part. So I'll shift to the next one. HEROES really stands for Higher Education Resources and Opportunities for Salukis in Need. So we're looking at all of those wraparound services with the 8 dimensions of wellness. So yes, mental health and physical health, but what other resources do they need in terms of basic needs insecurities, housing insecurity, food, in terms of their career, maybe tutoring. It really is a retention effort. So, we bring in a lot of these students who might be first generation students or, pride ourselves on being a college of access, but what tools are we surrounding them with in order to help them obtain their degrees? So that's what HEROES stands for. We'll shift.
Hey. You got it.
So looking at some of the statistics and the basic needs insecurities, about 36% of university students are housing insecure, 9% are considered homeless, and 16% experiencing both food insecurity and housing insecurity. We did a campus-wide study, and of course, we don't get all of the data for that. It's certainly a sample, but our numbers were also trending higher than this. Now, for homelessness, we're really looking at a broader definition of homelessness. It can be sheltered homelessness as well. Maybe they're couch surfing. Maybe they're in a dwelling that has 8 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Maybe they're staying in different places, staying in their car. So it's not necessarily out on the street homelessness, but it really is kind of that unstable housing. And we'll shift. So really the goal of the HEROES program really aims to reduce these basic needs insecurities, but also removing barriers to academic success. So one thing that we noticed is there were really gaps in our access to care. There were healthcare disparities based on different demographics. A lot of our first generation students or our underserved student populations were not granted kind of equal access to healthcare and some of those things. So we aim to address those gaps in care through this program and really making sure that all of our students receive the necessary resources to be successful. So one thing we didn't want to do was stigmatize and say, okay, you need to prove to us that you're homeless or prove to us that you don't have enough money for food. We really have made this broad into where it's an individualized approach to all students. So while some students might need housing, others might need food, others might need counseling. So we really are trying to say all of us have certain needs. So we take an individualized approach to looking at those needs, really a case management model. We'll shift that again, please. So it's for everybody. But primarily for students experiencing stress about meals, their financial situation, their living situation, access to healthcare, transportation has been a big thing for our students, childcare, clothing, hygiene, school supplies. And we also have a specific program and some extra grant funding for students in care. So that's any student that's been in the care or custody of the Department of Children and Family Services. And so we have some specific opportunities for them, but they are also automatically included in that. We'll shift. Some of the indicators, which many of you know, so I'm not going to go into this, of the needs and securities. A lot of times our students won't let us know what they need. So some of the first students, and they've given me permission to kind of share a little bit of their stories that access the HEROES program, have some of these things, but they didn't necessarily come up and say, hey, I don't have food, or hey, I don't have the ability to do this. Our first student that joined the Heroes program actually came out of a situation where she had means, she had student loans, but she was in a domestic violence situation at home. Mom and stepdad were involved in a lot of violence, and mom had taken the student loan money to pay her bills and buy a car, so she had no student loan money and felt trapped in an unsafe environment at home. So we were able through this program to help her get the housing that she needed, to get the counseling that she needed, and some of the resource that she needed. Another example of a student is somebody that you might think isn't doing well academically. This student was a student in care. She grew up in the foster care system. She grew up with her father having shot her mother, so she had no parents. He was incarcerated, and her mother had passed. She had a 3.7 GPA and was a junior. She was headed into an internship year, and she did not have the transportation to get to the internship or the clothes necessary for the internship. And so her plan when she came to me was to take off a year of school and save up the money to go on internship. Through this program that we're going to talk about, she was able to get the clothes. We were able to get her the clothes that she needed. We were able to get her a laptop. We were able to get her transportation to and from the internship, and she was able to stay in school. We also deal with a lot of international students because, as many of you know, when they come here, they might not be eligible for SNAP benefits if they haven't been in the country long enough. So they have a lot of needs and securities as well, whether it's healthcare, some of those things. And so we deal with a high number of our international students. We can shift that, please. Some of the things, as I've already mentioned, you might see an embarrassment of, needing food, asking for assistance. Many of you in healthcare might see that they have kind of chronic unmet medical and dental needs. If you see that, know that they're a student and could refer them to us. That would be awesome. And so we're really looking for some of these indicators in order to get some of these students into our program. I'll shift here. Some of the indicators of the housing insecurities, maybe they're behind on their rent. We want to catch them before they're homeless too. And so, really looking at, are they facing eviction? Are they behind on their rent or mortgage payments? Again, if they moved in with other people, a lot of our international students might be living, with 10 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. They might not know where they're going to sleep. They might not feel physically safe. And so all of these things are things that qualify them for certain aspects of our Heroes program. We'll shift that. Food insecurities. We had some situations where students were taking food out of the residence halls. And while that could be kind of a disciplinary process, we also looked at that as, okay, why are they taking the food out of the residence halls? And really doing some intrusive questioning to look at, do they have enough food? Are they able to have balanced nutrition? Are they not able to concentrate in their classes because they're not eating well? They're not sleeping well? Some of those things, they're skipping meals. And so we realized with some of these students that were taking food out of the residence halls that they really were food insecure. And so really partnering with the community, but also our food pantry to help make sure that their food needs were met. We'll shift again. So some of the services that I want to share with you that are involved in the Heroes program. Number one is housing assistance. So we have a lot of students that don't have anywhere to go over breaks. So, over spring break, they don't have a home to go home to. So fall break, winter break, and we at SIU include summer break, where most Illinois institutions do not include the summer. But we've been able to obtain a lot of grant funding in order to pay for students that do not have housing to be put in the residence halls over these breaks and the summer. And so we do, if they meet any of these criteria for housing, put them up in the residence halls. For food, we really address this through our food pantry, but we've also want sustainability. And so I'm going to tell you a lot about our Heroes store that we have created that is for basic needs and securities. We also want them to be able to have pots and pans, to have refrigerators, to have air fryers. And so we have created a store that I'm going to show you some pictures of based on grant funding that really meets all those basic needs and securities, and they can loan out all of those items so that they can cook their own food and have access to pots and pans and some of those things, so that they're not just taking the food out of the food pantry. We are also able to put some freezers and refrigerators in our food pantry so that they have more perishable items. And so we were able to do that. We also have been able to add kind of gift cards to restaurants if they're off campus. We do that in a way that doesn't impact their financial aid, partnered with many of the farms and food pantries in the community. Access to medical care is twofold. We have subsidized over 3,500 counseling appointments in the first semester, waiving their door fees and paying for those. Also, sometimes they need help that's outside of us, whether that be at Centerstone or Shawnee or any of you, SIH, and we are able through our program and grant funding to pay for those services if they need them, something that's outside of us, or help pay healthcare premiums in order to have access to us or outside individuals. We also have added a lot of satellite locations. A lot of our students are working between the hours of 8 to 4:30. So we have counseling and psychological services available at 5 different locations on campus, and also till 9 p.m. at night, and weekends 12:30 to 9. So we really changed our access to care there, and have added a 24/7 call line after hours where they can reach a licensed mental health provider after hours at no cost to the student. Transportation, through our grant, we are able to provide kind of gift cards for gas, but also bus tickets, train tickets, those types of things. We are buying those for the students. We have a lot of clothing and personal items in our store, school supplies, so they are able to loan out laptops, webcams, clothing. We have gift cards for specific items, similar to the student that I told you. We have bedding, so if they're in the residence halls and don't have pillows, they don't have blankets, they don't have those things, they can come to our Heroes headquarters store and get those items. Financial aid applications, again, we want this to be sustainable. So in the instance of the first student I told you, where mom was taking the financial aid money, it was an unsafe environment. We work very closely with our financial aid department to help them apply for financial independence, or help them apply for low-cost childcare or low-cost housing, or SNAP benefits. So we want them not to be in the same position month to month, but to help them come up with a plan or the financial literacy to be in a different position come the next month. So we have kind of the wraparound services that are included in this program. We'll shift. Unless I've talked about a lot of this, so let's shift. I can show you some of the pictures that we have here. Waiving door fees is another way that we've been able to subsidize. So medical appointments, if they can't afford it, prescription medications, again, sometimes that might be with all of you instead of us. If it's more specialized services, we've had several students transported for surgeries, the aftercare, getting them to and from those appointments. If they need psychological testing, paying for outside providers to do that, since we don't offer that. So we waive our fees, but we've also been able to pay for some of your fees through this program. And we'll shift. Referrals, I did want to put on here a couple of things for you to refer to us. We have the website heroes.siu.edu. On there in the store, I'm going to show you here in just a minute, there is a form on there where students can access our store in a couple of ways. One, they can set up an appointment with us. We will take them through to help them get their items on a month-to-month basis. But often our students are working or, again, engaged in kind of those after-hours projects, whether it be school or their job, where they can't access our store. So similar to kind of Kroger or Walmart, we do pickup orders, and their form is available. If you know students that need some of these items, they can do our form online, and they can do kind of a pickup order where we'll pack the order for them based on their needs, and have that ready to go at a time that they can pick it up. We also have all of those resources available. So there might be community members that benefit from a lot of our resources that we have that aren't students. That's all comprehensive on this website as well. We have all of the local, regional, and state resources for, if they can't pay their electric bill or they need to apply for SNAP benefits, or the different organizations that are involved in terms of food pantries, those types of things. So all of that is available here, and I'm happy to email out any of these links. But I do want to show you our store that's kind of on the next page. So what you see in that first picture is kind of a sampling of some of the items that we have in the store. So we have all the basic hygiene items, so shampoos, conditioners, toothpaste, deodorant, those types of things. We have all of the housing and cleaning supplies, so you'll see kind of the bathroom cleaner, the wipes, the Windex, all of the cleaning items. We have sheets, bedding, blankets, clothing, so kind of the basic clothing in a bunch of different sizes, whether that be kind of t-shirts, underwear, those types of things. And again, we have gift cards available for more personalized items there. We have cookware, so they have dishes, pots and pans, paper plates. We have the larger appliances like refrigerators, microwaves, toaster ovens, those types of things. And so we have also school supplies, so all the papers, the pads, the pens, the laptops, the webcams, calculators, and the ability to get them school supplies. And we waive a lot of fees for book money as well. So if they can't afford their books, they can do that through this location. You also see in that top right picture, we have created kind of a multicultural Zen den. We have a relaxation area here with massage chairs, kind of yoga, places for them to hang out. A lot of our students need kind of that community space. We also have peer mentors coming out of this location. So, because of the stigmatization, we have a lot of our peer mentors who are trained in mental health first aid. We've done a lot of mental health first aid training across the community. Our students are over there too as a resource to other students. So a lot of our students who have accessed the Heroes headquarters also become kind of volunteers. They help unpack boxes of these goods. They help train their peers, and they've gone through those trainings. We also, as you see kind of in that bottom right, we hold a lot of workshops out of that area. So we, again, want them to be sustainable. We might have a workshop on a Wednesday that is, how do you fill out your financial aid application? What is financial literacy? How do you plan a budget? How do you access food in the community? How do you fill out low-cost housing applications? And so we do different workshops out of there weekly in that community space. So quite a lot actually comes out of this HERO program. I know that I've slammed a lot of services at you in a very quick amount of time, but did want to leave some time to have all of you ask questions or answer any questions. And so I'll kind of leave it at that and let you ask any questions you might have about the program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jamie, for the presentation. If anyone has any questions, you can ask those now, or you can put those in the chat. One of the questions I had, you mentioned looking at some additional grant funding. Are there typical sources that you guys go after, or is it just, as you see something that might be, relevant to your program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I had these grand ideas and realized we don't have a lot of funding, right? And so a couple of things that I did. Number one is I really do see this as an aspect of mental health. And so I'm the kind of PI on our mental health early action grant on campus that all of the Illinois universities apply for. So I've incorporated some of this into our mental health early action on campus. So it's the after hours, 24/7 call line comes out of that. Our kind of expansion of waiving some of the services that we have, whether it be psychiatry, whether it be some of those mental health services, waiving their counseling appointments so that they have access to care. Some of that will come out of the mental health early action grant. But there's what's called an ESHE grant as well, which is something that we've applied for through the IBHE, the Illinois Board of Higher Education, which is ending student housing insecurity. And so we've also applied for that grant and have been really fortunate to win that both years. The first year that was 50,000, and this year we were able to win kind of the grand one, which was 200,000, which has been really instrumental in building in some of this additional programming. We also, through partnerships with many of the people on here, have been able to get what we call a student in care grant through kind of Centene Health, also the Chamber of Commerce for our students in care. So students that have been a part of the foster care system, we do have an additional grant that helps pay for some of their costs, some of their schooling, some of those things if they needed housing over the breaks and some of those things. So those are the three main grants that we've applied for so far. Also, had some wonderful donations, some of that through Jackson County Health, and some of that through just, community members who see it as a worthy cause on our Saluki Day of Giving. We've created a foundation account for people to be able to give donations to the students through that. So our fundings come through kind of multiple modalities. Also, we've really seen that students have been a big advocate of this program. So our undergraduate student programs and our Black Affairs Council have donated money towards the mental health aspect of that. And so they've done different things through kind of their initiatives to help waive some of the student fees or, engage in our Saluki Cares Days, which has a lot of community partners. They've chosen that as kind of their area to sponsor. And so we've partnered with on-campus organizations as well.
Wow, that's great, especially to have the peer-to-peer communication and kind of championing that effort. That's great. Do we have any other questions for Jamie this morning?
Good morning. I came a little bit late and I missed some of the presentation. How do you do, Jamie?
Good to see you.
You too. One of my questions, and I don't know if, like I said, if you addressed this before, have you partnered with the counselors and the high schools in the area to provide this sort of information with minority students, Hispanic, Spanish students, and if that is one of the initiatives that you're working on?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention it actually. So I've gone around to a lot of the local high schools and have met with a lot of their counselors, their McKinney-Vento liaisons, anybody who is working with our minority and underserved student populations. Just yesterday, I was on a kind of a panel and roundtable of how do we get this out to all of the high schools. So we had all of the McKinney-Vento liaisons for the region, but also school counselors. So there is a big event planned actually at the Heroes headquarters in October that I'm working with them to invite all of those individuals from the high schools in to tour the facility, to look at that and say, hey, here's what we have at SIU. Also really working with international students. And so I'm not sure if you were on for that part, but I would say that the large majority of our international students, both on campus and in some of those transitions, is who I'm working with, because they aren't eligible for some of the things, as you know, with SNAP benefits, with some of those things, and they have some unique considerations. So, well, for example, they can stay in the residence halls with 1 credit now. As you know, that our students could lose their visa status if they only have 1 credit, or they might not be making adequate progress towards their degree with that. And so we're really looking at that bridge or that gap from high school so that they can transition in with that knowledge, have that one-on-one sitting down and really looking at how do we help them with that benefit? What health care do they have? What do they have in terms of the housing? And so, yes, that's one of my big initiatives. And I spent 3 hours doing it yesterday, was meeting with the high schools and starting to bridge that gap in those transitions.
Thank you.
Diana raised her hand. Did you have a question?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Clark.
Hi, how are you?
Just want to thank you so much, especially for working with our international students at SIU. I know I've heard so many students say that they have experienced food insecurity and housing insecurity. So I'm so glad that there's more access for them. I mean, I even had a student that described suicidal tendencies because of that shame of not coming to the U.S. with that big dream of what that experience would be like, just to question when their next meal would come, while also trying to to, teach courses, do research, and just be a student in America. But I actually held an event here at the Civic Center on Tuesday where we had quite a few international students attend, and we discussed food insecurity at that event. And one topic that came up at one table was transportation, especially just to access and go to the grocery store. So out of that community conversation, people were talking about maybe working with the Center for International Education to create like a kind of rideshare programs with those that want to volunteer to take students on a regular basis to the store so they can access food. Because I know that we, even though we have our mass transit system for the campus, the trips that they take to the store maybe not as frequent. And then also when you're coming with groceries, that kind of time frame it takes to come back and forth can also be complicated. So just one thing that was mentioned that I would love to share with you, even though they do have access for some of those fresh foods and some of those other resources, it might be nice to think about simple ways and simple solutions that we might be able to support them in that.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's really helpful to see that. I think that we started off, addressing a lot of the bigger transportation needs with kind of the bus tickets, the train tickets, and we had an international student who had spent a lot of his financial aid with mom's health problems, and she ended up passing. We were able to get him an airline flight home because he wasn't going to be able to get to home for the funeral. But I think that is really helpful. So we're trying to address that in multiple ways. One, I think you're right. I mean, it would be great to look at a rideshare program. But we're also trying to get that right here on campus because we have met with the Center for International Education and looked at, how do we get more of those fresh foods here? We've also really worked to diversify the food that we offer that's more catering to some of our international students and really looking at, are we providing meals that's consistent with all cultures and really looking at items in our store as well. So we've really done some focus groups to look at different foods and look at some of those things so that they can get some of those perishable items in our store, which is why we've just recently added refrigerators, freezers, those types of things to the food pantry so that we can have some of that available on campus too. So not always having to go off campus to get some of those food items.
Okay, so it's like
Do we have any other questions for Jamie this morning?
so the two for you, was it just
And if everyone could mute their lines, we would appreciate that.
and then for Cobia.
Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, Jamie, we really appreciate you being on. It sounds like a wonderful program. It sounds like you guys are trending in the right direction as far as, getting some additional dollars. Obviously, our group is going to continue to promote it as we come across the students, and a lot of good praise in the chat. So thank you very much for being on this morning.
Yes, thank you all. And thank you all for the help that you've given us so far. We couldn't do it without our community and campus partners. So I see many of you on here that have helped us, and I just want to say thank you for that.
All right, appreciate you being on this morning. All right, so we jumped right into things this morning. So let's take a look at the agenda here. Okay, hopefully you guys can all hear that, or see this rather. So just a couple reminders for today. If you haven't submitted your action team reports, please do so. We're going to try and go to a new format starting next year. And really what I'm hoping to do is create an online format so people can update it throughout the year with some of the information that you guys all have through action team committee meetings, and then also upcoming events, things like that. We've been trying to do action team reports every month, and that doesn't really seem to be working. Some action teams are meeting in that time period, some aren't. So we'll probably just go back to kind of a quarterly update as our meetings are upcoming. I'll request action team reports, and we'll get away from the monthly updates just because there really hasn't been a lot of information coming out. Let's see. So just one highlight on the 2024. So this is the just for action team co-chairs. We're bringing together all the HSIDN co-chairs May 23rd. So any co-chairs on this call, if you haven't responded to, I think Fonta is coordinating that, please do so. We want to make sure that we have all the co-chairs at that event. Our next meeting is July 18th. And then our final meeting for the year is October 17th. So instead of 6 meetings like we've done in previous years, we're just going to a quarterly format. So I guess I'm up next again. Okay, here we go. So basically just wanted to go over our health priorities. So if you remember, we've been working on this community health improvement plan, or our I plan is basically what we call it. And this is a requirement for all county health departments. And some of you actually came to our special meeting in January, so we do appreciate that. I think we had roughly 30 people at that event that really tried to narrow down our health priorities. And typically we focus on 3. In previous years, we focused on behavioral health. That was included again this year because obviously we know there's more work to be done. In previous years, we focused on cardiovascular health, including obesity, nutrition, physical activity. We are going to include those in some capacity in this new plan. And then previously in our 5-year cycle, we had access to care, which we're also going to try and work in to our current priorities as well. So here's what we have so far. And these are kind of in the process, or I guess in beta. So the first one is addressing behavioral health, including mental health and substance use. That was one that we had previously. And really what we're trying to do is increase access to mental health services. We want to decrease substance use, and we also want to decrease the stigma around treatment. So for all of these areas that say reduce, increase, so basically these are going to be the strategies, which we're not ready to share those just yet. But that's our first priority health area. Now that's very similar to what we've been working on. Jamie had mentioned that behavioral mental health is an ongoing issue, not only with young people, but also with adults. So we're very confident that this is needed in the community. We heard it from the surveys, and this is going to be something that is going to take a long-term effort to address. The second, this was really more of the conversation in January that we had at our special meeting. We were having conversations about, a lot of different things, and health equity kept coming up to the top. So we decided to really make that a priority area. And I know it's very broad, but the strategies, once we come out with those, it's going to make a little bit more sense of where we're going specifically. So the second priority health area is focusing on community-wide health equity. And it's trying to improve overall population wellness through a specific focus on underserved and at-risk populations. Now, again, that's very broad. Once we come out with the strategies, you guys are going to be able to see kind of the direction that we're going with this. And then the third priority health area that we've identified was improving family and community engagement. We kind of went back and forth with should be engagement, should be empowerment. So we settled on engagement. And really, we're looking at increasing economic opportunities and improving health outcomes for families and youth. And again, the strategies will be a little bit more specific on identifying the direction that we're going with this one. But this was kind of a biggie as well. So obviously any of you that have lived in this area for a long time understand that there's certain economic challenges, and those economic challenges exacerbate health issues, kind of social determinants of health. All these things are kind of encapsulated together. So that was one of the priorities that we decided as a group we wanted to focus on as well. So those are the priority health areas. I know some of you weren't able to make it to the meeting, so I did want to try and loop everybody in to where these priority health areas are currently set. And then, like I mentioned, the strategies will be coming out shortly, and we'll share those with you all as we kind of get them a little bit more firmed up. So does anyone have any specific questions about any of these priority health areas, or anything that we absolutely need to include as far as strategies? I'll open it up to anybody.
One of my questions, and thanks for giving the opportunity to post questions or comments with regards to the focus on community-wide health equity. And are we talking here about also facilitating culturally and linguistic appropriate services? And by that, I mean to include Spanish speaking helping, and or flyers, anything with the Spanish population.
Yeah, well, so specifically, we don't have anything about language included in there, but we definitely have the culturally appropriate language in there. So we didn't want to identify just a specific ethnicity, but we want to make sure that we're reaching the individuals that we're trying to serve where they're at. So it is included, but we specifically don't identify, certain ethnicities or anything like that.
Well, if there is any room for me to be part of this, I would really, really appreciate it.
Okay.
Hi, Matt. This is Debbie Penrod. I teach nursing at SIU Carbondale, and every spring I have around 40 students in community health class. And what I like to do for their clinical hours is I give them projects to work on. So I can see me dividing my students into these 3 different categories you talked about, and helping impact, doing some kind of project and helping impact these 3 areas in the spring semester. So I would welcome that opportunity for my students to collaborate in some way, if you're doing workshops or any informational sessions, or even providing service. So count me in on that.
Great, thank you very much. So in this third category, the strategies aren't listed, but we definitely have peer involvement and really trying to engage youth in kind of community projects, decision making, things like that. So thank you very much for that offer. We're definitely going to take you up on that as we kind of roll this out. So any other questions or input? If not, we can.
Matt, do you think the section on health equity, are you leaning towards social determinants or drivers of health? Or, I mean, I know you mentioned a little bit about it, but are you?
Yeah, so for that category, it's going to be kind of split. So it's going to be kind of the clinical component, but then also the social determinants of health. So again, I wish I could share the strategies. We're just not to that point yet.
Okay.
But yes, that's kind of where the social determinants is going to, I guess, kind of live in that category, or in that priority health area, I should say.
And I know you mentioned chronic disease when you were talking about that. So, because I know that was one that came up in that January meeting, that trying to incorporate that chronic disease?
Yeah, so chronic disease will probably live here also in that second priority health area. All right, well, I just wanted to.
Hi, Matt. Excuse me. So I'm not seeing the top of the document. Can you repeat the title of this initiative?
Oh, so this is our community health improvement plan.
Thank you. Got it.
So this is just a, kind of our draft document. So the community health improvement plan is a 5-year plan that all health departments have to do in order to keep their licensure. So I would say some health departments kind of do this in a bubble on their own. We've never done it that way. We've always worked with the community. So basically our process is community surveys, working through this coalition, working through our action teams. And we've kind of been in this process for a year, and we're getting more closer to the end and firming up some of the strategies that are going to impact these priority health areas. So if you haven't been a part of it, I apologize. This is probably foreign to some of you that haven't been involved, but that's what this document is.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. So we're going to move on to action team reports.
Matt,
Yes.
this is Philip. I have I'm giving a talk to nursing students at SIU this morning at 10:30. If there's no objection, may I give my action team report first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
So the Sexual Health Action Team goal and purpose is to reduce the transmission of sexually transmitted disease through the development of healthy sexual interactions. Since our the last meeting of this group, we have provided talks to SIU School of Medicine, to the physician assistant class. That's always the lead-off presentation for us at the very first of the year. And then we were at SIH Center for Medical Arts on 3 different days. Really had a terrific opportunity to speak to their primary care and pediatric clinicians and staff. We've also given talks to SIU School of Medicine 4th-year students and 1st-year medical students that were focusing on sexual health and special considerations for the LGBTQ community. And Dr. Waldyke assisted us with that. What we're currently looking at, Paula and I had a meeting with an individual from Illinois Board of Secondary Education, Julie Strelo, regarding the current state of Senate Bill 818, which was signed into law, and how that has been progressing throughout the state as school districts are either rolling it out or continuing to opt out. She has provided us with some data from surveys that they have sent to every school district in the state. And we will be reviewing that at our next meeting, which is June the 12th here at the Health Department, 3 p.m. in our conference room in Building 2. In addition, we do have a Facebook page for our action team. We try and provide timely articles and educational resources regarding sexual health and services, and then events that are going on in the region. I would like to invite anyone on this call to take a look at it, but also, and it is entitled Sexual Health Action Team, so that would be your search. But if you have anything from your action team that you would like for us to post, just send it to myself at the health department or to Stacy Droll, who is the action team co-chair, and I'll put our email addresses in the chat box. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you, Philip. Appreciate you being on this morning. So we'll go back up to the top here. So do we have Ashley or Yvonne on for behavioral health this morning?
Hey, Matt, I'm on. It's Ashley.
Hello.
Hey, okay. So yeah, we welcomed a new co-chair and Yvonne passed on her duties to Amanda Holloway, still with Shawnee. So we'll get her added to these meetings in the list, of course. And the Behavioral Health Action Team met last month and we are wrapping up our spring or our self-care challenge, we'll say, or campaign more so, and with the spring season and on to our next project. Our next meeting will be May 16th. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I think Molly was on for built environment.
Molly Maxwell with the City of Carbondale. I am the co-chair of the Built Environment Action Team. We have not met. We are currently sort of in limbo. We're needing a new chair to replace Angie Keel as she's changed positions at the health department. So we're sort of in limbo right now. Not very active right now. So don't really have any updates there.
Okay, thank you very much, Molly. Obviously, some things changing at the City of Carbondale as well. So,
yep, for sure.
We appreciate you being on.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, so Diabetes Today resource team. Do we have Debbie or Fonza on this morning?
Yes, good morning. This is Fonza Seydu. So we have an upcoming meeting next week on the 27th, but primarily right now we are focused on planning for Camp Beta 2024, which will take place September 7th through 8th at Touch of Nature. And I will put that link in the chat. So we're just really planning for that, and that's it for right now. Thank you.
Hey, Fonza, just a quick question. Your next meeting, DTRT, is that in June or is that for April next week?
Oh, sorry, that is April.
Okay, I'll just change it. I didn't know if I wrote it wrong. So next week we've got it.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Healthy Living Action Team. Do we have Tony K or Nikki on?
While we're waiting for them to respond, it's actually going to be on the 25th for DTRT, April 25th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can loop around back to Healthy Living Action Team. So Healthy Senior Action Team, do we have Becky or Robin on?
Yes. So the Healthy Seniors Action Team has been meeting once a month. We meet always on the third Thursday of every month at 3 p.m., typically at the Veterans Airport, unless they have a conflict. And then we usually meet at the University of Illinois Extension Center in Marion. We are excited. Last year's caregiver retreat was a great success after being in hiatus for a few years. We are excited to bring it back again this year. We already have a date selected. It's going to be on November 1st at Cornerstone Church. They're going to host us again, which turned out to be a wonderful venue for us. We're going to go ahead and just embrace the Halloween theme, and we're going to do the caregiver retreat, if you will. The other projects that we're working on, this is very exciting, a senior prom. We have asked and they have spoken, and seniors want to have fun. They want to have fun and they want to dance. And so we are going to do a senior prom. It's going to be a huge undertaking, but we're going to make it the best event we possibly can. We are looking to schedule that in 2025. It's going to kind of be all hands on deck, but I'm so excited. I honestly have goosebumps right now because I just know it's going to be so wonderful. Our meeting is today, the third Thursday, April 18th at the airport at 3 p.m. And our next meeting is May 16th, 3 p.m. at the airport. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. The senior prom sounds exciting. All right, so joint access to care, do we have Alicia? Or maybe Fonta again?
Sure. So joint access to care, we did not meet this month, but we are working on finalizing an action team member engagement survey because we are really trying to figure out next steps for our action team. But so I'll just kind of leave it at that. But we continue to work with updating resources that are under the resources tab on HSIDN. But our next meeting will be June 18th from 2 to 3 virtually. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Positive youth development, Sherry?
So we had a February family vacation night. We had a family Valentine dance. It went off pretty well. We had about 92 that were there that night. So it's nice to see people attending events like that again. So we've been working on our schedule for the rest of the year. Every May, we've been partnering up with Murfreesboro Kiwanis Club. So we'll be doing Play is Our Superpower in Murfreesboro again this year. That's going to be May 20th. So right now we are signing up vendors and volunteers for that event. So you can reach out to me if you're interested and I'll help you make that connection. We're partnering with the Carbondale Public Library in June for their summer reading kickoff. So if you've never been to a foam party, this is your chance. We're going to have somebody come that does foam parties regularly. So we didn't make this up. This really is a thing. It should be a lot of fun. And we're going to have a lot of safety displays like sun safety, water safety, bike safety, all that will be included. And then we are also in the beginning stages of planning a Ren Fair, September 14th. So we're looking for some maybe monetary donations for that one to help get that going. So that's something that we've never done before, but our group is just looking for new ways to promote family engagement. Our next meeting will be May 21st at 1 p.m. And you can contact me if you would like to join the PUID.
Great, thank you very much, Sherry. Public health, do we have Jamie on? The other Jamie? She might actually be at a meeting today. So Angie Bailey, do we have any update for Southern Illinois Cancer Action Network?
Yeah. So for those that are new or haven't heard of this committee, the purpose is improving cancer prevention, control, screening, and survivorship efforts in the lower 16 counties. I am currently the co-chair, but I am looking for another co-chair. Jamie Courier has taken a different position at ACS and is no longer able to be my co-chair for that right now. One of the things we do at each meeting is just remind everyone of the Illinois Cancer Action Plan that is available online and trying to work to do programming in that area and related to the Illinois Cancer Control Plan. There is a new committee in Illinois that has been developed, the Ovarian Cancer Network. Rudy Bess is one of the leaders of that, as well as IDPH, and some grant funding has been received. And we'll be working on educating the community of symptoms of ovarian cancer, what to look for, because there is really no screening for that. And we're seeing some increase in cases of ovarian cancer. In January, we had Julia Markey from Washington University present on programming and education related to ISTEP and colorectal cancer screening. And in March, we had or Fighting Cancer Today, promote their program, what they do, how those fighting cancer and survivors can obtain resources from them and all they do in the community. And then they promoted their 5K that was actually held last weekend. Our next meeting is June 4th. We are looking for a speaker. We will not have a July meeting due to scheduling conflicts. And then what we really do is coordinate around all the different prevention, control, survivorship efforts. So we talk about each different type of cancer, and then all the community partners share what they are working on in that area to get ideas. So a lot of work happened in March around colorectal cancer, fit test distribution events, and then many of the FQHCs and health services continue to do a lot of work to streamline the processes for patients. That is it. And I have it all typed up, Matt. I will send it to you.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. So I did see Kendra dropping some information into the chat about the Commercial Tobacco-Free Summit. It looks like folks are still able to register. Kendra, did you have anything you wanted to add on that or on the mini grant applications?
Yeah, so the summit is still open until Friday. If you want to register, it will take place at John A. Logan College on April 23rd. As far as mini grant applications, if you know an organization that wants to work on tobacco-related policy change, or a youth group that is interested in focusing on policy change with tobacco use and vaping, reach out to Kelly Corner or myself. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Kendra. So now I'll just open it up. Do we have any general community updates or anything else the coalition needs to know about?
I've actually got one. This is Becky from the Alzheimer's Association. June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and we are looking for places to do some education programs. So if you're looking to host an education program or you know of somebody who would be interested, please let me know because we want to get the word out.
We also have some updates on Shawnee. Shawnee has a new pharmacy at Carbondale site, and it's open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30. And we have also just opened up our counselors. So our BH department has opened up to the public. So we're able to take on the public for counseling in our departments. Shawnee also received 2 mobile units that we're expected to start utilizing the next school season. So it'll be 24 to 25.
Great, thank you very much. I saw Diana raise her hand. Go ahead.
Yes, actually next week is the 2024 National Crime Victims' Rights Week. So the City of Carbondale is partnering with the Carbondale Library to host a Victims and Survivors Writing Workshop on Thursday, April 25th, starting at 5 p.m. So if you know anyone who wants to kind of go through those healing aspects of writing through that trauma, please invite them to come and join us. You can find the registration forms on the city's website. And then also we're just having an open to the public free community healing picnic next Saturday at the Town Square Pavilion. So, you know, please invite anyone to attend and join us and just kind of come together as a community. We're going to have live music by Shad Schrubert and then also a proclamation reading by Mayor Harvey. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Sherry Wright, go ahead.
We have an upcoming youth mental health first aid training. So if you're an adult that would like to learn how to identify, understand, and respond to signs of mental health and substance use challenges for adolescents between the ages of 12 and 18, this would be a great training for you to attend. So you can contact me. I put my email in the chat and I can send you that flyer.
Great, thank you very much. Any other updates?
have a couple of quick updates. This is Mass Transit District, and just I know I'm sure many of you work with people who need transportation on a daily. But as of April 1st, we no longer accept stations. So for anybody who knows anybody that uses RND, they do need to call in advance to check on availability if they wish to make a reservation to go grocery shopping, medical appointments, or really anything of the sort. And another big update is on August 10th, we will no longer be the service provider for the Saluki Express. It will go over to Jackson County Mass Transit, so that's another update that we will have coming up, and that's on August 10th.
And I'm sorry, I missed your name on the Rise Mass Transit District.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Anna, A-N-A, de Unamuno.
So Anna, are you able to send me some information about those updates if you guys have social media posts or just general language so we can start pushing that out about the changes?
Yes, absolutely. We do have a couple of graphics created, so I can email you those.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Matt, I'll add a little bit onto that. We've been meeting with Jackson County Mass Transit, and so they are going to be rolling a new process out for those individuals who are not able, that need rides in Jackson County, but are not able to actually walk to the bus stops. It's a paratransit type of a program, but there will be a form that has to be completed for individuals to ensure that they may meet ADA requirements to be able to get that more door-to-door service. So especially thinking about seniors and those with any types of health conditions that would prevent them from walking the distance from their location to the nearest bus stop. So I know Jackson County Mass is working on getting that information out.
Okay, thanks, Angie. So any final updates before we sign off for today? All right, well, appreciate everyone being on. Our next meeting is July 18th. So hopefully we're not 120 degrees by then, but I think it's going to cool down a little bit this weekend. So enjoy the time off for those of you that have it, and we'll see you next time.